welcome once again, everybody, to the Nick Saban Show, live at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Our show is presented by Alpha Insurance. I'm Chris Stewart, filling in for Eli Gold. Gary Harris, Sports Director, WVUA Television, is our media guest as Coach Nick Saban is making his way into the restaurant here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Not surprising, another packed house here at Bob's Place, and we're glad to have you with us and always glad to welcome in the head coach of the Crimson Tide. Coach, happy Thanksgiving, day early, and great to have you with us once again.
Yeah, it's, I'm a routine guy, so this is Wednesday. It's not Thursday.
That's right.
I'm sorry I'm a little late, but happy Thanksgiving to all the folks out there. You know, this is a wonderful time of the year for us to have gratitude for all the things that we have, all the great relationships, the family. I know we spend a lot of time thinking about, things that we don't have. So the next couple of days, we got to think about all the things we do have and be very thankful that we have them.
You talk about the routine, Coach. How, if at all, does it adjust for your team?
Well, the only thing we do differently really is tomorrow we move practice up a little so the players get out a little earlier, an hour and a half, 2 hours earlier than they usually do, so they can get, maybe if they live in a 2-hour radius, they get home for Thanksgiving. A lot of the players' families actually come here for Thanksgiving, especially when we're going to have a home game. And then for all the players who don't have any place to go, they come to the coach's house. I think we're going to have 19, players over tomorrow after practice, and all the other coaches will have players over too. So we want to make it as much as family as we can. And then on Friday at 1 o'clock, when everybody reports back, we have a family turkey dinner for everybody and all the kids and families and coaches and players and all that. So try to make it as much as we can like it and like a holiday, but at the same time not lose focus on what we're trying to accomplish on Saturday.
Sure. Absolutely. Gary?
Well, since it is Thanksgiving, tomorrow I'm going to start off with a light question on Thanksgiving. At the Saban household, is it stuffing or is it dressing? And I'm sure you probably got that one before, but which is it? Or do you know?
It's dressing and gravy to me.
Turkey and dressing.
But it's really not my call if you want to know the truth.
That's what I was going to say. It's whatever Terry says it is.
Yeah. So, but when you have this many players over, you got to have it catered in anyway.
Yeah.
When did you start doing that, the routine with that from a coaching standpoint?
We've done it as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little different now, too, that we used to have fall break coincided with when we had a bye week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the players didn't have school. So that was a good time for them to be able to go home and have a break. Well, since COVID came, we don't have school the whole week of Thanksgiving, this whole week.
Right.
So the players didn't have fall break, and they can't go home this week because we have a game. So hopefully maybe one of these days we'll get back to the old schedule. For football, it was better. I'm sure a lot of the students like it the way it is now, though, too.
We got the first question out of the way, and it was brought to us tonight by Alabama 811. Alabama 811 is proudly supporting former Tide running back Kerry Good in his ALS fundraising challenge against a former Auburn player. Visit the KerryandGaryChallenge.com to learn more. Coach, also a tradition. We know you like routine. We're not going to mess that up. The Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline is open, 877-202-BAMA, and that means the first question comes from Grand Bay. Pee-wee, you're talking with Coach.
Hey, Coach. How you doing, sir?
Good, Pee-wee. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'd just like to say happy Thanksgiving as well to everybody out there.
Thank you.
And we especially like to thank you and Miss Terry for everything that you do for our players tomorrow, as well as the rest of the coaching staff. I know that's a really big deal to them, and it's just fantastic that y'all do that.
Well,
the question I wanted to ask was, you've got a team coming in here that's been on the upside for the past couple of weeks after they've had turmoil in here, and they really don't have nothing to lose in any way that they do. How does that, or even does it affect any way that you prepare for this game?
Well, I don't. When you prepare for any game, all you can control is what you can control. You know, you can't control what the other team's circumstances are, what they think. You have to control what you can control, which means you have to prepare very well for the game. We got to practice well. We got to do simple better when it comes to blocking and tackling and being physical and winning on a line of scrimmage, because, you know, that's what they've gotten better at. You know, they're running the ball. The quarterback can run. I mean, he's a good passer too, but a very athletic guy. They got good backs, and they played, you know, physical downhill football in the last, you know, 3 games, and it's been very successful for them. So we're going to have to match, you know, that intensity based on what we do. We can't really, you know, I mean, every team you play, everybody wants to beat us, and this is even a rivalry game where each team wants to have even more motivation to try to do well. So we have to control, what we do, how we prepare, how we play. We expect it to be a very physical, difficult game, and our players, you know, have to be ready for it.
All right, serious football question now. The last couple of years, we've gone from a system that was basically in place for a long, long time, and now we have NIL, we have the portal, and NIL, you've talked about Bryce Young's a perfect example of how it should work. And yet we know a lot of people are using it as a recruiting incentive. And then in the portal, we compared it to free agency in the NFL, but free agency has rules. There are restrictions. In the portal, you can just go. We see people on social media already today saying, hey, I'm going to be available in the portal next week. A lot of people say something needs to be done, but the question I always have is who's going to do what? Is there anybody that can even change the rules that are in place now?
Well, I think you explained some of the circumstances around the situation very well. And I think the only way that something can be done, it probably has to be done on the federal level, because these circumstances were not created by the NCAA. They were laws, right, that were put in place for people's rights to work and make money. I don't think the intention is to have collectives where you can actually create opportunities for players to make money and then actually use those opportunities to try to get guys to come to your school. I don't think that was the case. You know, somebody told me there's already 1,500 guys in the portal, and, you know, unless you're within a year of graduation, you can't even get in the portal until December 5th. So what's to say that when you use the word free agency, why is a guy a free agent? He wants to see what his value is. Can I get more money someplace else than I could get here? I'm talking about in the NFL. So what is for people not to do the same thing in college now and say, I'm just going to put my name in the portal and see if somebody will pay me more to go someplace else than what it is here? I don't think that's what college football is supposed to be. I don't think that this is what anybody intended this to be. I don't think that it can change until we do something probably on the federal level, because it is the law. And hey, and I'm all for players making money. I'm all for players using their name, image, and likeness. And if it has value, and they created value because of what they did as a college football player, you use Bryce Young, Will Anderson, same thing. A lot of players on our team have created value for themselves by how they play, and people want to use their name, image, and likeness to, you know, promote whatever. I think that's a good thing, and I'm all for it. But I'm not really for using these things to encourage people to go to a school relative to what they'll get for going to the school. We spent my entire life trying to get alumni and people and money out of recruiting. And guys should make decisions on where they can create the most value for their future, because that's really why you go to college. We all went to college, whichever one of us went to college, to create value for our future. We wanted to have a better life because we created value, whether it was playing sports and learning lessons of life and being part of a team, or if we didn't play sports, we were getting an education so that we could develop a career that would give us an opportunity to have success in our life. So, and it creates a legacy. You know, that's the thing that's so important about graduation to me for the players on our team. And I tell the players this all the time. If you graduate, your whole family will go to college. You know, Masin Mohammed is a great example. When I was a first-year head coach at Michigan State, he had a legal charge. I won't get into that. And everybody, including the president of the university, thought I should kick him off the team. and I suspended him for a game or whatever, and he went on to play 15 years in the NFL. He graduated from Michigan State. And 4 or 5 years ago, I went to Charlotte, because he played for the Carolina Panthers all those years, to receive an award or something for the Nagurski Trophy or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was. Who's standing at the steps when I walk in the building? Muhsin. I hadn't seen him for 15 years, since Michigan State. And he looks at me and he says, I want to thank you for not kicking me off the team. I have 7 children. They all graduated from college. One of them from Stanford. One of them's going to law school. I was like, if I'd have kicked this guy off the team, would any of that have happened? Would any of that have happened? So it's so important, I think, from a legacy standpoint, that we create value when we're going to college, that you graduate. So that's going to affect everybody in your family and in your life in the future. So, and that's what college is all about, really.
Fantastic stuff. Coach, let's go to the phones. 877-202-BAMA, the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline. We head to Clarksville, Tennessee. Patrick, you're on with Coach.
First of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you being our coach at the University of Alabama. You are truly the heart of our program.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
So now to the question, Coach. You said that our players seemed anxious before the Tennessee game. How did you get them ready for a energized Auburn team under Coach Cadillac Williams?
Well, I think our players have a lot of pride. I think they want to finish the season. They have an opportunity. They understand that, one of the things that's always remembered about your team at Alabama is how did you do in the Iron Bowl. I mean, I think that's something that everybody's going to remember. All the former players here, when you talk to them, when they play for Coach Bryan or whomever, it always comes up, how they do in the Iron Bowl. And I think our players understand that. We have quite a few players that have been in this game before. They know what a physical, tough game it is. But, I think the other thing is, I think our players want to win 10 games. I think that, maybe our goals and aspirations was to get in the SEC championship game, to win the West, see if we get in playoffs and all that. But we also have an opportunity to win 10 games, which I think we've done for quite a few years. I think they have a lot of pride in that. I think they have a lot of pride in, the whole culture of the organization and how you represent it and how they want to represent it. And it's a part of their legacy in terms of how they finish the season. So this game is very big to them, and they have been really good at practice this week in terms of their focus, attention to detail, energy level, and all that type of stuff. So you got to keep it up until you get the job done.
We'll have more with head coach Nick Saban here from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa right after this on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Behind Young in the pistol formation. Bryce getting the snap, wanting to throw, looking left side. That ball is going to be caught. Touchdown. Jermaine Burton giving Alabama a 13-0 lead. Another Bama highlight presented by Yellowhammer Brewing Company, brewed locally in Alabama and served to fans across the Southeast. Hey, I want to correct something I said earlier. I think I mentioned Bama basketball. The men's team playing tomorrow night in the first round of the Phil Knight Invitational out in Portland. They do play tomorrow night against Michigan State, but it is an 8:30 Central pregame show. 9:30 is the tip-off. I think I said those times wrong, but it's 8:30 for the pregame coverage. Roger Hoover and Brian Passink will have the call from Portland. 9:30 Central, the tip-off for Alabama and Michigan State. Looking forward to that one as the Crimson Tide comes in ranked 18th in the country. We're talking, of course, football here during the Nick Saban Show, though, as the head coach of the Crimson Tide is with us here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. I'm Chris Stewart. Gary Harris, sports director, WVUA Television, is our CB&S Bank media guest of the night. And, Gary, we'll let you ask the first one in this segment for Coach.
Thank you, Chris. And, Coach, having covered you, I know you don't live in the past. You don't look too far ahead in the future. You're all about the present. But it is Iron Bowl week. When you got here in 07, Auburn won 5 in a row. You lost a tough one at Jordan-Hare that first year. Then in 2008, with a 6-game losing streak against Auburn, 10-0 at half. I remember they missed a field goal right before the half. In the second half, Glenn Coffey ran wild, 36-0. Just looking back on that, not necessarily your emotions because you were still relatively new to the rivalry, but for the players that had lost time and again, what was that moment in the locker room like after you won that game?
Well, I think that it's hard to explain, sometimes the emotion that players have when they really work hard to try to accomplish something. And, every failure has an opportunity. I love it when I see our players really, really get excited, really having fun in the locker room because they have a feeling of accomplishing something of significance that they worked really hard for. And I know how happy it makes fans, and I know how much, people get disappointed when we don't have success. But, just multiply that by maybe about 100 times. And now you get what it means to the players because they put their heart and soul, into it, not just for a game, but for an entire season, for an entire year, off-season program, summer conditioning, all the things that they do to prepare themselves to try to develop so they have an opportunity to be successful when the time comes. So this is something as a coach, all right, that you really want for the players more than anything else. I'm a competitor. I love winning. I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, it makes me happier to see the players happy when they accomplish something of significance and they're really, really happy about it because that's really what it's all about because I see how hard they work. I know how much it means to them. And, sometimes as a coach, you just want to do as much as you can to help them get there.
Coach, let's get to the first question of the night from the Nick Saban Show thread at AL.com. It's from Tim in Sylacauga, and he says, "Hey, Coach, in advance of tomorrow's holiday, I'm curious, what are some of the things that you are thankful for? We're especially thankful for you in Roll Tide." That's from Tim in Sylacauga, Alabama.
Wow, I don't know where to start. I would think the first thing is relationships. I think, Miss Terry, our children, our grandchildren, a family, mom, all the friendships that you have, the relationships that you have, people who care about you, not because you're the coach at Alabama, but because of, who you are and what you stand for, what you try to do to help and serve other people. I think those are probably the things that I'm most thankful for because really that's where most of the happy sad comes from. You're happy when those people are happy. You're happy when you can help those people. You're sad when they suffer. So I think that's probably the thing I'm most thankful for. And it's probably the thing that I pray the most for, that those relationships can all, and friends too, will all be healthy and happy and have great lives.
Speaking of relationships, Coach, we've had a great one with Crimson Tide Sports Network for years, and you have as well with the gentleman that I'm told is here tonight. I haven't seen him yet. Bob Baumhauer is our host, and we get a chance to do the show from here, and there is Bob.
Hey, Bob.
How can I
How
miss
you doing,
him?
buddy?
Coach, he's been great to us, and I know great to you as well.
Yeah, he's a great player, great representative of the University of Alabama. I know it means a lot to him. This is a great venue he has here, and he's very successful, and we appreciate him being a friend, and we appreciate his support. So thanks, Bob.
And appreciate the wings as well. Does them better than anybody. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you very much. Let's go back to the phones. Our Yellowhammer Brewing hotline, Greg in Leeton, Alabama. How you doing, Greg?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. You're on
Greg.
with Coach.
Hey, Coach, I want to congratulate y'all on another tremendous year. I think y'all did great this year. The Texas game was probably my favorite game of the whole year. But I wanted to ask, how are our injured players this week? Are they looking good in practice?
The injured players in practice. Yeah, most of the players have practiced this week. Gibbs, Steen. If you ask
Ricks.
me, Eli Ricks. The guys are out there practicing, so don't even think about whether they played last week or not. We're just getting ready to, go this week. So We've got a few guys that are still on the shelf, but for the most part, all the guys that we just mentioned are back practicing and I think able to play.
Coach, I want to kind of play off that for a second. The trust that you have in your medical staff. You've got a great orthopedic team, but Jeff Allen heads up the sports medicine team. And I've heard you talk about it. I've seen it myself. The level of trust you have with him. You're not telling him if a guy's going to play. They're telling you if a guy is available to play and is able to go.
Yeah, we never make medical decisions. We have a great medical staff. It starts with Jeff Allen and his staff, which is our training staff. They do a phenomenal job with our players, not just on the physical side of it, but also on the mental health side of it and the development. We have a whole mental health, psychiatry, psychology, how to grow and develop personally and all those kinds of things. But, Dr. Andrews and Dr. Kane, their operation, Dr. Kane mostly with us. The most important thing with your medical staff is the players trust the medical staff. Because if you lose trust in the medical staff and if you don't take care of guys the right way, you don't get MRIs, you don't have them see the doctor, you don't give them peace of mind to know that they're okay to perform, then they're not going to trust you. And you can't just say, hey, you're okay to play, and the guy's got a bad shoulder and he really shouldn't be playing. You're going to lose trust with those people. And I think that our people have done a phenomenal job of that. And they also do a phenomenal job when we do get players injured I don't think you can get any better medical attention than you can get from Dr. Kane and his group, Dr. Andrews and his group. All the NFL players. When I was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins and we were either going to sign Drew Brees as a free agent or trade for Culpepper, they were both injured. Culpepper had a knee. Drew Brees tore his shoulder up recovering a fumble the year before. And I had to fly to Birmingham, talk to Dr. Andrews and Dr. King because they operate on both of them. And that's the kind of level of expertise, we're fortunate enough to have here from a medical standpoint, and our players believe in them and trust in them. And we've had numerous players that are playing in the NFL now who's had significant injuries, and it didn't affect their future and their career. I can't tell you how fortunate we are to have such a great medical staff, starting with the trainers, doctors, from top to bottom. They're first class.
Coach, let's go back to the phones. Harrison in Florence is not there. I'm so sorry. Before we go to Harrison, forgive me. We've got a young man here on site. Go ahead, buddy. Tell Coach your name and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Chase, and I just want to bring up that my team won a championship this year. How do you think Bryce Young will play for the last and final game this year?
Oh, Bryce? I think Bryce has gotten better and better, especially from his injury. Back in the Arkansas game, it took a while for him to get back to where he could practice and do the things he needed to do to prepare for a game. And I think that he'll play, really, really well. I think Auburn's got a really good defense. They do a nice job, especially up front. So it'll be challenging, but I think that he'll do extremely well. He's done a great job, not only in how he's played for us at Alabama, winning the Heisman Trophy while he was here, but you couldn't ask for a more classy guy to represent your organization than what Bryce Young and his family have been to Alabama.
Good job, buddy. Thank you so much. Harrison, my apologies for the false start. Flag me for that one. But go ahead, give Coach your question, Harrison.
Not a problem, Chris. Thanks so much for taking my call. Coach, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Yes, sir. I got a quick question about Auburn's offense. I looked up some stats a couple of days ago, and they got two good rushers, obviously Tank Bigsby. I know you're no stranger to him. And also Jarquez Hunter. I think both of those guys rushed for over 100 yards last week against Western Kentucky. And I was just wanting to see what stands out to you about both of these guys in the backfield. And also, how do you get your defense ready to face a team like Auburn with two really effective rushers who are probably different in terms of style and things that they do, but how do you get your defense ready for multiple effective rushers like they have?
Right. Well, I think, what we're going to face in this game Saturday is completely different than what we faced. First of all, you mentioned two really good runners, right? But they use big people in a lot of circumstances. They use a lot of tight ends create a lot of different formation multiples that are different than what you see when you're playing against the spread. So, and they try to be physical. Tanks are really good in, out, make you miss. Lateral change of direction, has a burst kind of a guy, can run with a little bit of power, not easy to tackle. The other guy is 27, is a downhill. Tough physical, lower your pads, try to run over you if he needs to. And they have developed this mentality of running the ball in these last, 3 games that has been very effective for them. You couple that with a quarterback who's really, really athletic and can really run himself. And now you can utilize some quarterback runs to complement those guys running. They're still very capable with throwing the ball, the quarterback's capable with throwing the ball. I don't mean to mislead you when I say, but he is a really good athlete and he is a really good runner. And they use a lot of personnel groups that we have not faced, and that's been one of the challenges this week, to try to get the players in tune to the kind of plays that they're going to see, which we haven't seen those kind of plays all year.
All right, Coach, sit tight. We'll be back with more in just a moment for Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa, continuing with more of the Nick Saban Show on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
DeLillo looking left side, has a man there, but he's got it picked off. Kool-Aid with a pick, 30, 40, midfield. Kool-Aid tripped up as he gets near the 45-yard line.
This segment of the Nick Saban Show is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious, is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? We'll find out for yourself. Chris Stewart back with you here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill, continuing with the Nick Saban Show. Gary Harris, Sports Director, WVUA Television, is our media guest. Coach Saban here as well, of course. And our second question from the Nick Saban Show thread at AL.com, Coach, comes from Bobby in Albany, Georgia. And Bobby asked, when you had to sit out the last home game against Auburn in 2020, are you personally excited to coach this one on the sidelines at Bryant-Denny Stadium? Thank you, and roll tide. That was a different day for sure.
Yeah, but I was more there than people know.
I'm sure.
Or I'm allowed to say. So, it was interesting to be able to watch the game at home because, the delayed telecast on TV, I had the TV, I had the regular copy as we filmed the game. All right, so that comes on instantly. So I had that on one monitor. All right, so then there's like a 2 or 3 second delay before the play comes up on TV.
Right.
So I could watch the play, and it was like instant replay, where you get to see it the next time. And then, Terry was downstairs cheering, and I was upstairs not saying what I was doing.
Fair enough. Coach, let's head to Selma. Roy,
but to answer the question, I am excited to be on the sidelines for this game, believe me.
We're excited you're there as well. Roy's in Selma. Go ahead, Roy.
I ain't going to ask how you doing because we already heard that. But one of the last calls there, we need to keep all injuries totally confidential on that. But also, I'm coming to Sabantown on Saturday for my 47th consecutive Iron Bowl. I know you don't have an extra ticket, so we'll go to the next question. Do you get to spend any time with your immediate family during, Thanksgiving? And how much physical practice does the players get from the first game we had until now?
Okay, so
how much practice is there from the first game until now? I guess from a physical standpoint.
Oh, we practice on Monday in spider pads, which is just these little things that are like small foam shoulder pads and helmets. And we probably practice for an hour and 20 minutes. We practice for 2 hours in pads on Tuesday, 2 hours in pads on Wednesday, and probably an hour and a half on Thursday in shoulder pads and helmets, which we call shells. So if you want to, and then we have a walkthrough on Friday, which lasts 40 minutes. So how would you add that up for the season? But we do that each and every week, and in each one of those days, we have certain things that we want to try to accomplish with the players, starting with the scouting report on Monday in the meeting. The first thing we do is watch the previous game. Then we do the scouting report of the next team. We show them film clips of what they need to know. We install basic game plan, and then we go out and walk through it and practice it on Monday. And so then we, each day we do first down, second long, goal line, short yardage. On Tuesday we do red area and third down, like today, Wednesday. And tomorrow we'll do 2-minute, 2-point plays and review everything that we've done all week long. And then Friday we walk through it again. So the cumulative effect of that. But what we never do is play more than, I'm going to say, 4 games without giving the players 2 days off. So if we play 2 or 3 games in a row, then we won't practice on Monday. All we'll do is do a walkthrough because 2 days off probably do the players 10 times more good, not 2 times more good than 1 day off. So, and it's just a thing that I've learned through the years that, your team can get wore down. And in the old days, you didn't have any scientific evidence to tell you that. But we get catapult numbers on guys every day. We actually give an award because we know how fast guys are running down on a kickoff team. They all have GPS on their deal. All right, so if you can run 21.4 as fast as you can run on GPS, which is pretty fast, and you're running down on a kickoff at 18.7, you ain't running as fast as you can run. All right, so we never had that in the past. You had to do everything was the eye test. Same thing with how much a guy should weigh. You just look at him and say, I think he should lose 10 pounds. Now we have scientific evidence of body fat, muscle mass, hydration, all these things that tell you exactly what a guy should weigh, what he should eat to eliminate body fat, what he should do to create muscle mass, and so you're the most efficient. So we never had that in the past. So we can actually measure, and we have a baseline on every player on our team. All right, this is your baseline for explosive power, this is your baseline for strength, and this is your baseline for speed. So we have a baseline for every player on the team. We evaluate that every week. All right, so if a guy's going down from his baseline, he's obviously being overworked, over-practiced, or too tired, playing too many plays in a game, whatever it might be. So we might minimize that guy's workload, all right, to try to get him back where he needs to be. And then, so it's a much more scientific approach that you can look at. And if they ever come in and tell me, we got a lot of guys on our team that are, down in speed, down in explosive power, down in movement, which we do a report on every week, then we're going to practice less. I give them more time off to try to get them to recover. Because it's not the fact that they're not in condition. They're in condition. It's how much do you wear them out. And the physical part of football is not an easy game. It's a physical, tough game to play, especially in a tough league when you play good teams.
Coach, we've got a young man down here in the front that's got a question for you. Go ahead, buddy.
What are some of the challenges that you see against Auburn this week?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, controlling the line of scrimmage is probably the biggest challenge, and that's a really good question. In fact, maybe we should put you up here with these guys asking the questions because it was one of the better questions we've had all night.
Easily.
But anyway, I think controlling the line of scrimmage because they're going to try to run the ball, and if they can do that effectively, that's going to create a lot of opportunities for them from a down and distance standpoint to even have shots at making explosive plays because, teams that run the ball effectively usually have good play action passes to try to hit big plays against you. So that's going to be really important on defense. I think on offense, the strength of their defense, they got a good defense, but they got good guys up front. So we're going to have to control the line of scrimmage offensively so that we can run the ball effectively and create balance, keep them off balance so that we can make our passing game more effective. And I don't think you can turn the ball over, right? Just like last week's game. We scored 34 points in a game instead of a lot more points because we turned the ball over 3 times in the game. Once on special teams and twice, on offense with a fumble and an interception. And all those drives would have probably resulted in points. So, and we actually do an evaluation of every turnover that we get, what's the result of that? What's the value of that? and it comes up to about 4.5 points. Every time you give the other team the ball, what is the value of that? What is the result of that over the course of the season? And it's usually 3 or 4 points. So there's nothing more significant than turnovers. So I would say controlling the line of scrimmage, taking care of the ball, and winning a turnover battle will be really important.
When we come back, this young man will be up here with Coach. Gary and I are going to go hang out with Bob, and we'll wrap things up with the head man at the University of Alabama next here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Handoff will go to him again. Tries to get to the edge. Does. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown. Chase McClellan, the touchdown run. A block on the edge from the receiver, Isaiah Bond. And Bama adds to its lead. It's 23-0.
This is the Nick Saban Show presented by Alpha Insurance. For auto, home, and life insurance, call Alpha. Let's get our final call of the night from Cumming, Georgia. Natan, you are up with Coach.
I just came from Alabama, and it was a very beautiful state. And I wanted to ask you, what's the strategy going into the game against Auburn?
That's the strategy going into the game against Auburn, Coach.
Well, the strategy is you'd like for the team to execute and play as well as they're capable of playing. Everybody's all in, energy, enthusiasm, focus on doing their job, do simple things better, block, tackle, be more physical. I think that, we're always trying to do quality control on what we do, what we play, plays we run on offense, formations we run, things we do on defense. How can we complement those things with what the other team does, and how can that help us put our players in a better chance to be successful? So all those combination of things comes down to the strategy of how you're going to have success in the game. But I do think the question before that the young man asked about winning on the line of scrimmage, being able to control the line of scrimmage, turnovers and explosive plays, those three things are probably going to be as critical as anything in this game. And, players have to be aware of that. I mean, turning the ball over is critical and sometimes can be avoided by doing fundamental things correctly. Just like, we lost a punt last week because, A, the punt returner could have caught the ball, chose not to catch it. If he's going to not catch it, he's got to give what we call a Peter signal, which means get away from the ball. And it notifies everybody that's trying to block for him that I'm not fielding the ball. It's going to hit the ground. You got to get away from it. Well, we did neither one. All right, we didn't catch the ball, and we didn't give the signal. So what happens? The ball hits the ground, hits one of our players who has no idea that the guy's not going to catch the ball. All right, so that could be avoided with better fundamental execution of what you do. And those are the kind of things that I think become critical, in games like this, that players can stay focused on, doing things the right way. Playing with energy and enthusiasm and emotion is really important, but channeling those things in the right direction is even more important.
Gary, last question from you.
Carnell Williams question, Coach. You recruited him out of Etowah High School when you were at LSU. You evaluated him for the draft, even though you took Rodney Brown, and he's laughed about that this week. But just the job he's done, taking over as a running backs coach, being put in that position to rally that team. I mean, they've played hard all year. You said that earlier this week. But the enthusiasm and excitement that he's brought to that program, just your thoughts on the job that he's done.
Well, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, their guys are, really I mean, you look at the competitive character of a team, and I think that is a reflection on how someone is impacting the team. And, we spend most of our time looking at the last, 3 or 4 games that they've played, and not necessarily the first games that they played, so I'm not making a comparison, but their players are really playing hard. They're playing good football. They're playing together as a unit. They have confidence. They believe in each other, and that's why they've, won 2 out of the last 3 games they played, and the one they lost in overtime. So they're playing really well right now, and I think you got to give, Cadillac a lot of credit for that, because that's not an easy situation that he sort of inherited relative to a changing of the guard right in the middle of the season, and to get the players to rally for him in a positive way speaks volumes of, the kind of competitive character he has.
Coach, we'll have another show. It'll be either a playoff show or a bowl show, depending on what transpires. But the last one that we will have here at Baumhower's Victory Grill with you for the year. So our final word for the final time here, and it's presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Well, I certainly appreciate the support that everybody's given our team, all year long. I know they appreciate it. But this would be like, icing on the cake relative to what this team has tried to accomplish and what they've tried to do. So, the energy and enthusiasm that you can bring to the game, and it's for 60 minutes until we sort of can get the job done, however we got to get it done, I know will be appreciated, and I know would have a tremendous impact on the energy and enthusiasm of our team and our players and our ability to sustain momentum in the game. I think that's one of the most important things about competitive environments. Whoever can sustain the momentum in the game, because there's going to be ups and downs in the game, but who can sustain the momentum of the game for 60 minutes in the game is so important. And when you have a great home crowd, that is something that's very helpful to the players. And I know this is something our players would like to accomplish, and your support in them helping them accomplish it would be certainly appreciated.
We always appreciate you, Coach. Thanks so very much.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving as well. Coach Nick Saban with us here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. And again, hey, Coach, the Nick Saban Show are presented by Alpha Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alpha. Get a quote or find a local agent at alphainsurance.com.